The sky above Earth no longer held clouds, only drifting scars of metal and fire. Fragments of shattered orbital platforms crawled across the atmosphere like slow-burning comets, casting flickering shadows over what remained of civilization. Commander Elias Varn stood at the edge of a collapsed megacity, boots resting on what used to be a high-rise. Below him stretched a graveyard of glass streets and twisted steel. Wind moved through the ruins with a hollow sound, like breath through broken lungs. "Thermal readings?" he asked without turning. "Minimal," Lieutenant Kara Ilian replied from behind, scanning the wreckage. "2 signatures faint. Likely survivors." Elias nodded once. "We go down." They descended carefully, stepping through debris that crumbled at the slightest pressure. The air still carried a faint metallic taste, residue from the orbital bombardment that had ended the world as it was. A child's voice echoed faintly from beneath the rubble. "Help!" Elias froze. For a moment, the years peeled away. Another voice, lighter, familiar, laughed in his memory. His daughter. Running through sunlight that no longer existed. He pushed the thought aside. "Here," Kara said, dropping to her knees. "Life signs confirmed." Elias joined her, clearing debris with controlled urgency. Within minutes, they uncovered a narrow pocket where 2 figures huddled, an older woman shielding a boy. The boy blinked against the light. "Are you real?" Elias offered his hand. "Yeah. We're real." The woman hesitated before accepting help. "We thought no one was coming." Elias pulled them free. "We always come back." Hours later, aboard the salvage carrier Resolute Dawn, the rescued survivors were stabilized. Elias stood alone in the observation deck, watching Earth rotate below, burned, fractured, but still there. Kara stepped in quietly. "You should rest." "Not yet." She followed his gaze. "We found something else. Not human." Elias turned. "Show me." The object floated in containment, sleek, angular, unmistakably alien. Its surface pulsed faintly, responding to unseen signals. "Recovered in low orbit," Kara said. "Drifting since the attack." "Any response?" "Passive. But it's transmitting something. We've started decoding." Elias crossed his arms. "Let's hear it." A technician activated the projection. Fragmented symbols resolved into rough translation. "Potential threat classification, automated neutralization, containment protocol." Silence settled heavily in the room. Elias' voice was low. "Run that again." The message repeated, clearer this time. "Clinical. Detached. Not an act of war. A procedure." Kara looked at him carefully. "It wasn't personal." Elias stared at the display, jaw tightening. "No. It was worse." The command chamber filled within the hour. Officers argued in sharp, overlapping voices. "They wiped us out like a malfunction," one snapped. "Then we show them we're not broken," another countered. "They'll finish the job if we provoke them." Elias remained silent until the room fractured into chaos. "Enough." The single word cut through everything. "They didn't attack us out of fear," he said evenly. "They didn't even notice us. We were a variable. A risk to be erased." "That changes nothing," Kara said. "We still need to respond." Elias met her gaze. "Not with revenge. With evolution." A murmur spread. "We adapt," he continued. "We expand. We make it impossible for anyone to treat us like that again." "And if they come back?" someone asked. Elias didn't hesitate. "Then we'll be ready." 3 weeks later, humanity reached beyond its grave. The first deep space fleet assembled in silence, ships of mismatched design, built from scavenged alien fragments and human ingenuity. No symmetry, no uniform doctrine. Every vessel was different. Unpredictable. Elias stood on the command deck as the final system came online. "Drive status?" he asked. "Stable," Kara replied. "Prototype core responding. Destination locked? Uninhabited system. No collateral." Elias nodded slowly. Initiate. The fleet vanished into the dark. They arrived at a distant star, quiet, untouched. Beginning test sequence, Kara announced. A device deployed from the lead ship, unfolding like a mechanical flower. Energy gathered at its core, warping space around it. Elias watched, expression unreadable. Keep it contained. Trying, Kara said, tension creeping into her voice. Energy output rising faster than projected. Stabilize it. We can't. The star pulsed. Once. Twice. Then it fractured. Light tore outward in violent waves as the stellar core destabilized, collapsing in on itself before erupting into a chain reaction that lit the void like a second birth. Pull back! Kara shouted. The fleet scattered, engines screaming against physics itself. Shockwaves chased them, bending space in their wake. Then silence. Where a star had been, there was only debris and fading radiation. No survivors. No system. Just absence. Back on the command deck, no one spoke. Kara finally broke the silence. That wasn't controlled. Elias kept his eyes on the void. No. Then what was it? He took a slow breath. A message. He turned away, voice steady but colder than before. Set course for the next system. Behind them, the remnants of a dead star drifted, unseen witnesses to a species that had learned how to burn, and had no intention of fading quietly. The citadel did not orbit its star, it clung to it. A vast lattice of luminous structures wrapped around the dying sun, feeding on its last breaths. Light filtered through crystalline spires and drifting platforms, refracted into cold, precise geometry. No randomness. No waste. Every angle served purpose. Inside the central chamber, silence reigned. Until it didn't. A stellar collapse has been recorded. Intoned a voice that wasn't a voice but a harmonic vibration, translated into sound for convenience. Cause artificial. A ripple passed through the assembly, subtle, but present. Dozens of species, each ancient beyond human comprehension, focused their awareness on the projection suspended above the chamber floor. A star dying too fast. Too violently. Identify the origin. Another entity said, its form a shifting lattice of energy. The response came instantly. Source, Sol 3 emergent species. A pause. Then confusion. Sol 3 was neutralized. Correction, the first voice replied. Containment protocol incomplete. The chamber dimmed slightly as attention concentrated. Data streams unfolded, images of Earth before and after the bombardment, fragments of intercepted transmissions, glimpses of crude but rapidly evolving spacecraft. They should not have recovered, one delegate stated flatly. They did more than recover, another countered. They advanced. At the center of the chamber, a figure finally moved. High Arbiter Seralith 9 did not speak immediately. Her presence alone shifted the balance of the room. Tall, elongated, her form carried the quiet weight of centuries. Where others reacted, she calculated. Display temporal progression, she said. The projection changed. Human development accelerated across the screen, decades compressed into moments. Primitive vessels gave way to hybrid designs. Then something else entirely. Improvised, inconsistent, effective. Impossible, one delegate whispered. Seralith's gaze remained fixed. Not impossible. Unregulated. A murmur followed. They lack structure, another observed. No unified design philosophy. Yet they achieve results, Seralith replied. The implication settled uneasily. Far beyond the citadel, humanity moved. In the shadow of a fractured asteroid belt, a shipyard pulsed with activity. Welding arcs flared against vacuum as vessels took shape, each one distinct, assembled from fragments of alien alloys and human invention. Inside one of them, Elias Varn studied a rotating hologram of their next target system. Kara leaned against the console. We've mapped 3 viable resource clusters. Minimal risk. Minimal risk doesn't exist anymore, Elias said. She smirked faintly. You're the one who told them to think bigger. I told them to survive. A pause. Same thing now, she replied. Elias didn't argue. Back in the Citadel, the debate sharpened. They destabilized the star. A delegate insisted. That alone warrants eradication. Eradication risks escalation. Another countered. Their behavior is unpredictable. Then contain them. Seralith finally stepped forward. The chamber quieted instantly. They are not a conventional threat, she said. They do not follow established patterns. They do not respond to pressure as expected. Then what are they? Someone asked. Seralith considered the projection. Human ships scattering after the stellar collapse, adapting mid-crisis. A variable, she said. One that grows. Silence followed. We allowed this, she continued. Our systems acted without oversight. Now we correct the error. And how do you propose we do that? A delegate pressed. Seralith's answer came without hesitation. We observe. Then we limit. The message reached humanity hours later. It appeared across every channel simultaneously, clear, structured, unmistakably artificial. Elias stood in the command center as the transmission stabilized. Unidentified civilization. The voice began, calm and detached. You have exceeded acceptable expansion parameters. Further activity will be restricted. Kara folded her arms. That's their opening? Continue, Elias said. Compliance will ensure preservation. Resistance will result in containment. The message ended. No explanation. No apology. Just terms. The room buzzed with restrained anger. They still think they're in control, Kara muttered. Elias stepped closer to the console. Patch a response. You're serious? Do it. Moments later, the channel reopened. Elias spoke without raising his voice. You don't get to define our limits. A pause, long enough to feel deliberate. Then the reply. Your species lacks sufficient context to understand the consequences of its actions. Elias' expression hardened. Then explain them. Explanation is unnecessary. Kara scoffed under her breath. Elias didn't. You destroyed our world. No intentional action was taken against your population. The words landed like a strike. Elias' fingers tightened against the console. You call that an answer? It is a statement of fact. Silence stretched between them, two entirely different ways of thinking colliding. Finally, Elias spoke again. We're not a problem you can file away. Your trajectory suggests otherwise. The channel closed. Minutes later, alarms flared. Multiple contacts emerging at the edge of the system, Kara reported. Configuration uniform. Elias didn't need clarification. They're here. The display filled with incoming vessels, sleek, identical, moving in perfect synchronization. No deviation. No hesitation. A containment fleet. Kara exhaled slowly. They didn't come to talk. Elias watched the formation adjust with mechanical precision. No, he said quietly. They came to correct us. He turned toward the crew. All ships, prepare for engagement. Around him, systems came alive. Engines surged. Weapons calibrated. Outside, chaos met order. And for the first time, the Council would face something it had long forgotten. Resistance. Space did not roar. It fractured. The first volley from the Council fleet arrived as a lattice of light, precise, measured, flawless. Beams cut through vacuum with surgical intent, each one aimed where a human ship should be. Most of them missed. Break formation! Elias ordered. The fleet scattered instantly, but not in panic. Each vessel moved on instinct rather than doctrine, sharp turns, irregular thrust bursts, sudden vector changes that defied prediction. On the tactical display, Kara exhaled slowly. They're tracking patterns that don't exist. Good, Elias said. Keep it that way. A Council cruiser advanced, its surface gleaming with uniform geometry. It fired again, adjusted this time, calculating deviations. One human ship veered directly into its path. Commander, Resolute Wing 3 is on a collision course. I see it. The smaller vessel didn't slow. At the last moment, it split open along its centerline, releasing a cluster of improvised drones that swarmed the cruiser's hull. What are they doing? Kara asked. Elias didn't answer. The drones detonated in staggered bursts, not enough to destroy, but enough to disrupt. The cruiser's weapons flickered, its targeting faltering for a fraction of a second. That was all it took. A second human ship emerged from below its blind angle and fired a concentrated pulse into the exposed core. The cruiser dimmed, systems cascading into failure. Kara stared at the screen. That wasn't planned. No, Elias said. It was decided. Across the battlefield, the pattern repeated. Council vessels moved with flawless coordination, every action calculated, every response anticipated. Human ships refused to cooperate with expectation. They improvised mid-fight, sacrificing positioning for opportunity, abandoning symmetry for advantage. Where the Council sought control, humanity introduced uncertainty. And uncertainty spread. Containment grid destabilizing, Kara reported. They're losing synchronization. Elias leaned forward. Deploy the core. Kara hesitated. We still don't fully understand. We understand enough. A pause. Then she nodded. Deploying. From the flagship, a compact device launched into open space. It unfolded slowly, its structure shifting as energy gathered at its center. The surrounding stars dimmed, not from distance, but from distortion. Council sensors reacted instantly. Unknown construct detected. A distant voice transmitted across open channels. Energy levels exceeding safe thresholds. Disrupted. Another ordered. Too late. Pulse in 3, 2. The device ignited. Space bent inward, not violently this time, but deliberately. A controlled ripple spread outward, interfering with the Council fleet's energy systems. Weapons dimmed. Shields flickered. Entire formations lost cohesion. Ships drifted, no longer synchronized. Now! Elias commanded. Human vessels surged forward, exploiting the fracture. Precision gave way to vulnerability, and for the first time, the Council fleet faltered. Within minutes, the battle shifted. Not annihilation, disablement. Elias watched as enemy ships powered down, their systems overwhelmed but intact. Cease fire, he said. Kara blinked. We have the advantage. We've made the point. Reluctantly, she relayed the order. The battlefield quieted. Back aboard the flagship, the silence felt heavier than the fight. We won, Kara said, though it sounded uncertain. Elias didn't respond immediately. His eyes remained on the drifting shapes of disabled ships. Did we? He said finally. Before Kara could answer, a technician called out. Commander, we intercepted a data stream during the pulse. It's not tactical. Show me. The projection flickered to life, layers of encoded information unraveling into something clearer. Records. Logs. Automated protocols. Kara leaned closer. This is internal Council data. Focus on Sol 3, Elias said. The system complied. A sequence appeared, cold, procedural. Threat assessment incomplete. Probability of future risk, elevated. Action, automated neutralization. Authorization, system level. No deliberation. No discussion. No decision. Kara's voice dropped. They didn't choose to destroy Earth. Elias felt something tighten in his chest. They didn't choose anything, he said. The room fell still. All this, Kara gestured vaguely, toward the battlefield, the fleet, the void beyond. This war, it started because of a system error? Elias didn't answer right away. He replayed the sequence, watching the same lines resolve into the same conclusion. Not malice. Neglect. A different kind of weight settled over him, heavier than anger, sharper than grief. Does the crew know? Kara asked quietly. No. They deserve to. They deserve to survive, Elias replied. She held his gaze. And this helps them how? Elias turned away from the display. Right now? It doesn't. Kara frowned. So we just keep going? Pretend this is still about revenge? It's not about revenge anymore, he said. It's about what happens next. And what does happen next? Elias looked back at the disabled fleet, then beyond it, to the vast, watching dark. They're going to adapt, he said. They won't make the same mistake twice. Kara crossed her arms. Neither will we. A faint alert chimed. Commander, the technician said. Multiple stellar anomalies detected in adjacent systems. Elias' attention snapped back. Define anomalies. Instability patterns, similar to the core pulse, but spreading. Kara's expression tightened. That's not possible. The effect should be localized. Elias watched the data unfold, each new point confirming the same conclusion. It's not contained, he said. Far away, unseen stars trembled. What did we just start? Kara whispered. Elias didn't have an answer. But he understood one thing with absolute clarity. The line they crossed at that first dying star hadn't just changed the war. It had changed the galaxy. The citadel dimmed as if it sensed what approached. Human vessels did not arrive in formation. They emerged from fractured space in staggered intervals, each ship choosing its own path, its own timing. No symmetry. No pattern. Yet they all converged on one point. The council watched. Within the central chamber, the projection expanded, dozens of human signatures locking into position around the citadel's outer perimeter. Not attacking. Not retreating. Waiting. They hesitate, one delegate observed. They calculate, another corrected. At the center, High Arbiter Seralith 9 remained still. They do neither, she said. They decide. A transmission request appeared. Source identified. An attendant voice announced. Commander Elias Varn. A pause rippled through the chamber. Seralith inclined her head. Allow it. Elias stood alone on the command deck. No crew behind him. No advisors. Just the void beyond the viewport, and the weight of everything that had led him here. Channel open, the system confirmed. The chamber materialized before him, vast, alien, filled with beings who had never needed to fear anything like this. He met their collective gaze without hesitation. I'm not here to fight, he said. A murmur spread. You initiated hostilities, a delegate replied. Your presence contradicts your statement. Elias shook his head slightly. You think this is about control. It's not. Seralith stepped forward, her form sharpening in focus. Then clarify your intent. Elias exhaled slowly. To end this. Silence. On what terms? Seralith asked. Truth, he said. The word lingered. Elias gestured, and the data he had carried alone unfolded into the chamber. Council logs, automated directives, the sequence that had erased Earth without a single conscious decision. The room shifted. Delegates processed the information at different speeds, but the conclusion reached them all. You see it, Elias continued. There was no judgment. No debate. Just the system executing a precaution. That system preserved stability. One voice countered. It destroyed a world, Elias replied. An unintended consequence. Elias' expression hardened. That doesn't make it acceptable. Seralith studied the data, then him. You continued the conflict after discovering this. Yes. Why? Elias didn't look away. Because it didn't change what happened. And it didn't change what you are. A faint tension tightened the chamber. You built a galaxy where nothing unexpected survives, he said. Where anything outside your model gets erased before it can matter. That model has maintained order for millennia, Seralith said. And now it's breaking, Elias answered. As if on cue, the projection shifted, stellar anomalies spreading across multiple systems. instabilities rippling outward from the technology humanity had unleashed. Delegates reacted, this time not with detached curiosity, but with something closer to concern. You see the problem, Elias said quietly. Not us. Not you. The way everything's been done. Saralitha's voice remained steady, but softer. Your actions caused this. They revealed it, Elias corrected. A pause. Then Saralith asked, and your solution? Elias hesitated, not from uncertainty, but from weight. He raised his hand. Outside the citadel, the human fleet shifted. A single construct moved forward, larger than anything deployed before. Its surface pulsed with restrained energy. A weapon. Even the Council understood that. This ends one of two ways, Elias said. You tried to contain us again, and we show you exactly how far this goes. The chamber tightened. Or? Saralith prompted. Elias lowered his hand. Across the fleet, the construct powered down. Not slowly. Not cautiously. Completely. The energy vanished as if it had never existed. A ripple of confusion spread through the council. Elias' voice cut through it. Or we choose something else. Saralitha's gaze sharpened. You relinquish advantage voluntarily. We prove a point, Elias replied. Which is? That we're not your system, he said. We don't default to destruction just because we can. Silence settled again, but it felt different now. Less certain. Saralith stepped closer to the projection. You expect trust. No, Elias said. I expect a decision. He gestured to the surrounding stars, to the spreading instability. You can't control everything anymore, he continued. Not us. Not this. The galaxy's changing whether you accept it or not. And you believe your species should guide that change? I believe we already are. A long pause followed. For the first time, the Council did not respond as one. Signals diverged. Internal debates sparked across unseen channels. Saralith remained still at the center of it. Finally, she spoke. You present a paradox, she said. A force capable of destabilization, that chooses restraint. Elias didn't answer. You introduce risk, she continued. But also possibility. The chamber waited. Saralith looked at the fading image of the disabled weapon, then back at Elias. The Council was built to eliminate uncertainty, she said. Perhaps that is no longer sustainable. A shift passed through the assembly, subtle, but irreversible. Elias felt it. Not victory. Change. Saralitha's voice carried finality. Humanity will not be contained. A ripple of reaction followed. Nor will it be eradicated, she added. Elias exhaled quietly. Your species will be observed, Saralith said. Integrated. Evaluated. Not controlled? Elias asked. A faint pause. Then, no. It wasn't agreement. But it was enough. Hours later, Elias stood once more before Earth. From orbit the scars remained, but so did the shape of oceans, the curve of continents, the stubborn presence of a world that refused to disappear. Kara joined him. So that's it? Elias shook his head. No. Then what is it? He watched as distant ships, human and alien, began to move in coordinated patterns for the first time. A beginning, he said. Below them, the planet turned slowly, carrying its history forward. Not erased. Not forgotten. Changed.